Alright, so I wanted to make a video defending The Boys finale because basically every other moron on the internet is saying that it sucked. So they could just make a quick buck from being negative on the internet. So I wanted to explain why it's actually good. And I know everybody's gonna hate on me for making this video. It's obviously something I'm pretty used to at this point. So let's get into it. Why is The Boys finale actually good? And it's so ironic too because I used to be the only one shitting on the Fallout show, and now everybody hates it. So it's probably going to be the same thing with this. People are gonna come around to my opinion eventually. But yeah. So the boys finale was good. Okay. The reasons that I've heard online, for people saying that it sucked, was the biggest thing I've heard is that Homelander doesn't go on a crazy killing spree, which it was obvious to me that was never going to happen, right? I mean, there's two kind of major reasons for that. Well, actually, three reasons. The first reason is, it's made pretty clear in the show that Homelander has been bred to basically be obsessed with people's approval, right? Um, and so, the minute he finally snaps and decides to kill a bunch of people, even his crazy ass like MAGA fans, they might think twice if they actively see like their own fucking people getting slaughtered. Maybe not, MAGA people are pretty fucking stupid, but they might think, this guy's killing all of us. Mate, this might be bad actually. So that's point number one. Point number two, um, everything the boys are fighting for is to prevent that from happening. If Homelander finally decides to go on his spree, what would even be the point in trying to stop him? Like what are you gonna fucking do? If he finally just loses it all and snaps, that's it. And that's what was about to happen in the finale, right? He was about to. That's kind of where the stakes come from. Is he was about to go on a mass murder spree, but he was trying to plan. He was trying to kill all the people that didn't love him. So he wanted to leave the people that loved him intact. If he goes on a random spree killing whoever, he could potentially be killing people that would be, that would love him, which is what he wants. So why would he just indiscriminately kill people? It's fucking stupid. So that's point number one, or sorry, point number two. Point number three, this is a television show. Okay, need I remind you guys? Yes, it has way more of a budget than most TV shows do, but it's still a fucking show. Okay, where yes, everybody's all mad. Oh, we didn't get to see Homelander in space and all this. Like, what do you fucking want, dude? Go. If it was an animated show, that'd be one thing. This isn't Invincible. Um, so yeah, so those are kind of the reasons I knew that Homelander wasn't going to go on some crazy, scorched earth spree. It played out a lot more like it did. Well, in some ways, like it did in the comics. Where Homelander's killed in the White House. And I know, like, the military fights Homelander and all this shit. Would that have been cool to see? Yeah, probably. But like, let's take a second and think here. What the fuck is the military gonna do? Like, the military understands Homelander's power level. They know that, shooting him with tanks and shit isn't going to do anything. So why would they just voluntarily get their men killed for no reason? So, yeah, the way it played out on the show, I was perfectly happy with. I thought this season was better than the last season. There was a lot of filler in the season, but, I think for the final episode, I do think it stuck the landing. And I think most of the people out there, people can't even they can't go all the way and say it was bad, to get their paycheck. They got to say, oh, there were good and bad parts. So I find that really funny too. Like, people can't even commit to the bit that it's a bad finale. Anyways, so yeah, so the other kind of complaint I hear people say is that, none of the characters had their arcs wrapped up in a good way, which is so fucking obviously untrue. Basically every character in this episode had a fitting conclusion, that their arc was kind of perfect. I mean, let's think about it. Besides Soldier Boy, of course, because they're setting him up for their little, Better Call Saul spin-off show. Fine, I don't really have any interest in Vault Rising, but if some people do, that's fine. But okay, so let's talk about each character and how they wrap up, okay? So I have a list of all the characters here. So we have the Deep, right? The Deep's ending is fucking perfect. You know, he a lot of the deaths in this episode kind of play out in like a fairy tale kind of way. You know, the characters die in an ironic way, sort of, you know, they die surrounded by the very thing that made them who they were. You know, like the Deep is killed by, you know, the ocean creatures, which is just very poetic. And, you know, he goes out with all the humans hate him because he refused to save that guy in the last episode. And all the fish hate him because of the oil spill shit. So you know, he dies hated by everybody. Kind of sounds like how it's gonna be for me too. Kind of sound like how my ending's gonna be. But you know, he dies hated by everybody. He dies a failure, and that's how the Deep dies. So what else? We have the Firecracker. She's killed by the right wing, which is fucking perfect. I thought it was a very perfect ending. She's also killed by the very thing that, you know, she spent her whole life trying to seek power through right-wing propaganda, and she's killed by the right wing of the Eagle. And I thought that was fucking perfect. Black Noir, this definitely could have been handled better. He didn't die in the finale, obviously, but, you know, getting choked out by the Deep, that's fine, I guess. I think I would have preferred a little more of a climactic ending for him, but it is what it is. You know, not the greatest arc. Who else? Butcher. Butcher dies in the perfect fucking way. That people think like, oh, you know, he didn't even try to stop Huey or whatever. Everybody misses the point. Like Butcher wanted to die, right? Butcher knew he was never going to stop. He knew, you know, he had to release this virus because his hatred for superheroes was never going to go away. People were like, "Oh, Terror died, and that was enough to make him go crazy." No, he was going to try to release that virus, you know, regardless of what happened with Ryan, regardless of what happened to Terror. He was going to try to release the virus, and you know, a part of him wanted Huey to stop him. That's why he wasn't upset with Huey when he shot him. You know, there was a part of him that realized this is just who I am. I am this monster, and I kind of need to be put out of my misery. It was almost like suicide in a way for Butcher, and again, very fitting conclusion. Frenchie and Kimiko. This is probably the worst aspect of the finale for me, is the whole thing with Kimiko. You know, you already have a character who has the ability to blast the V out of heroes. Why are we bringing in a new character at the last minute? You know, it didn't really, or not a new character, but a new ability for that character at the last minute. Didn't really make any sense. I'd have much preferred if it was Soldier Boy who did the final blast. You know, it's been built up a lot more. It's been, you know, their relationship with each other has been built up since season 3. So it was just very strange to just, you know, penultimate episode have Kimiko, you know, to kind of take Soldier Boy's place. So I thought that was kind of ridiculous. Frenchie's death, I thought it was great. I thought his, you know, he looks Homelander in the face and calls him a fucking loser to his face. I thought that was awesome. You know, he was clearly fucking terrified, but he managed. He saved his lover. He saved Sage, and in the process, he told Homelander off. You know, I thought this was as good of a conclusion for Frenchie as you could get. You know, he sort of redeemed himself from all the years of taking people's lives. He decided to sacrifice himself. That was a good ending. So, who else? Huey and Starlight. I've heard people are mad that he named the baby Robin. I don't really understand what, you know, Robin died needlessly. Yes, he was his ex-girlfriend. Maybe that's a little strange, but she was just some woman who died needlessly. So, you know, I kind of see naming the baby Robin as just a way to honor someone who didn't need to die. You know, it doesn't really have anything to do with him having feelings for Robin still. He clearly doesn't. He's clearly over her. But people want to throw a hissy fit about that, so I thought they wrapped up in a good way. I kind of like the inversion. Oh, look, people are going to start messaging, you know. I like the inversion of, the guy is kind of worried about the woman being the hero and going off and saving people. Also, people are mad that Starlight is pregnant while she's going out doing superhero shit. Bro, do you people forget that she's a literal fucking superhero? She is a superhero. She can do crazy shit and the baby will be fine. Like, I don't know, man. People are fucking stupid. All right. Who else? Well, Ashley. Ashley, gets impeached at the end. Honestly, I thought she could have done with maybe a little more punishment than that, I guess. But, maybe she could have, like, gone to jail or some shit. Because let's not forget she did rape somebody in the previous season. She raped Huey. And people want to say, oh, no, he just didn't say the safe word. If you're in a BDSM situation with someone and they're fucking screaming and terrified, I think, like, come on. Like, at that point, like, okay, well, they're not saying the safe word, but clearly they're not into this. Like, she raped Huey. There's no, like, way around it. She absolutely raped Huey, and she deserves some kind of, comeuppance for that, but I think when it comes to the, unfortunately, rape isn't really taken seriously, right? When it's women doing it to guys, right? So I think it's just another example of that. The same way last season they kind of saw it as a joke, which is fucking disgusting, by the way. I do want to say, like, Eric Kripke, you could go fuck yourself for, not taking male victims seriously. But, okay, so who else? So Mother's Milk. So he's going to be taking care of Ryan now. That's a good, that's always been his character, is taking care of kids. And I'm glad he lived, because I do think he deserved to live. And that was a good ending for his character. Okay, one last thing I want to say is, I've heard people get pissed off that, Vought's still around, so they're just going to make another Homelander. And people don't understand that's the whole kind of premise of the show is, capitalism creates these sort of monsters, and it's never really going to stop as long as the system's still in place. And people are like, why didn't you kill Stan Edgar? And it's like, you realize you wouldn't have this boys universe if it weren't for Vought, creating superheroes. That's the whole fucking setting of the show. So of course, like, what do you think? They're just gonna stop having superheroes in their superhero universe? They're planning like spin-offs and stuff. Like, obviously Vought still needs to be around for those. Do I think that, creating all these spin-offs is worth it, or does anyone really give a shit? No, but of course Amazon wants money, so of course that's what they're going to do. So it's just strange to me that people think that, people thought Vought was going to, be done for in this episode. That was obviously never going to be the case. Any other characters? Sister Sage. Yeah, her ending kind of sucked. She just like scrambles off to Disney World or whatever, but she was never really all that much of a character anyways, so I guess I'm just really not that terribly upset by it. But yeah, so I guess that's all the characters, right? So yeah, essentially, all the characters pretty much, for the most part, had good arcs, good fitting conclusions. Homelander went out in the perfect way, oh, I'll eat your shit, I'll suck your dick. People are mad at, he didn't have any aura. It's like, you moron. He never had aura. He had superpowers so he could aura fraud, but he never actually had aura. So when he loses his powers, of course he's going to be the most pathetic fucking, coward ever. That was always who he was. So yeah, so people just are hating on this just because they want to make a quick buck from the fucking algorithm. So I thought I would give it to you guys straight. I already know this fucking, the like to dislike ratio on this is gonna look like a fucking lightsaber. And I already know I'm gonna lose another fucking 30 subs. But, at this point I've realized that people fucking, it is what it is. I can't really keep seeking people's approval because, well, this is people's opinions, right? It's the boys finale sucks, so I can't really trust people's opinion on shit. Anyways, that's a whole other story, but yeah, the boys finale was good. If you don't think so, you're dumb. And all right, I'm sorry, I'm being like overly mean. I've been having a rough time lately, but no, it's just I disagree. You know, if you don't like it, but yeah, that's about all I have to say. So goodbye.